Well, hello all and welcome back to the PWHL podcast. It's a big show today because we are going to go through the entire roster building process for the 2026 expansion teams: Detroit, Las Vegas, Hamilton, and San Jose. It's going to be a huge episode. Now, I already did an episode explain the phases to you, because obviously back before any expansion team was confirmed, we got the news of that document that basically outlines how the phases are going to go through. I did an episode on that, and then we did another episode where I got you two to give your initial thoughts on it. But now we have the official confirmation of how it's going to work. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go through that step by step. And we'll just walk through it. So yeah, like I said, we're going to be with you every step of the way. It's going to be a very busy fortnight. And can you believe the draft's in 2 weeks? Jeez, it's 2 weeks from Wednesday is the draft. Yeah, so basically 2 weeks from Thursday is when off-season officially kicks in. Yeah, because the draft's the last event of the season before we have to get a long hot summer. Yeah. We're already in long hot summer. Anyway, you Yags might not kickstart your summer yet, but we're in Blighty. We are, but the last where we've been having here the last week now a bit. But yeah, so let's get started, shall we? So there are 6 phases in total to this roster building process. The first of those phases begins this week. I know. You're thinking we probably should have this out, but there's been lots of other news that's been coming out in the league. We've had a theatre trip as well, so that took away one of our recording days, and the hot weather has also made being in the studio a bit unbearable. I mean, I think at one point last week we only got one thing done because it was just too unbearable to do. Yes, but we are dropping this on the day of the process starting, so you will get all this detail before a single move has been made, by the way. Okay, so these are the key dates you need to know. So May 28th, that was last Thursday, that's when we was through Waitress. A 3 p.m. Eastern Phase 1 negotiation list submission deadline. Then June the 1st at 12 p.m. Eastern, so that's tea time here in the UK, the preliminary player negotiation period opens. Then from June the 2nd to June the 3rd, Phase 1, which is existing team signings and protections. Then June 5th to June 8th is Phase 2, expansion team foundational signing period. June 10 to June 12 is Phase 3, preliminary open signing period for all teams. June 14 to June 15 is Phase 4, that's expansion sign period. June 16 to June 18 is Phase 5, that's existing team exclusive re-sign period. June 17, of course, is the draft in Detroit. Then June 19 at 12 Eastern is Phase 6, that's an open sign period, begins for all teams. So we're going to run you through it now bit by bit, step by step. But the first thing you need to know before we do that is the expansion roster freeze. So throughout phases 1 to 4, an expansion roster freeze will remain in effect, during which existing teams may not make trades, sign players outside the expansion process, or execute contract extensions outside of permitted phases. Expansion teams will have 10 players under contract for the 2026-27 season at the end of Phase 4. Existing teams can lose a maximum of 4 players under contract for the 2026-27 season from their roster during Phases 1 to 4. Beginning June the 1st at 12 p.m. Eastern, all 12 PWHL teams are permitted to begin conversations with players from a fixed list submitted by each club consisting of 10 players they would like to negotiate with. Contracts may not be signed until Phase 1 officially begins on June 2nd at 12 p.m. Eastern. Okay? So go a bit by bit. So I'll start with Phase 1. So Phase 1, which is this week. So Phase 1, existing team, foundational size and protection. June 2nd to June 3rd. So existing teams may protect 3 players under contract for the 2026-27 season. Players or expiring contracts may sign with any existing team during this phase. Any signed players automatically count as one of the existing team's 3 protections. Existing teams may lose a maximum of 1 player on expiring contract during Phase 1. So what do we feel about that? So basically, it's a free-for-all. Keys of the ball, kind of. Yeah. So a team could say... So for example, I'll use Jessie Albridge because she's not going to be going. Mm. For example, Jessie Albridge could sign with any other team. As well as Boston. Yeah. Oh yeah. So if a player feels that they might get a better deal elsewhere, they can do that. They can go as well, but it has to be existing teams. So you could see GMs target players who are not on their roster, who they think could be a really good impact in the next season. If it was me, I would wait until the latter phase of that. For me, with Phase 1, if I was the GM, if I was our GM Melissa Carosa, I would be thinking, nah, let's just look at who's on our team. Who do we want to get re-signed? Who do we feel needs to be protected more? And then worry about trying to nab other people's players at the latter stages. That's how I go about it. Okay, yeah. So today it's just... Today is all about some... Hold on, let me just... Let me go for some property. So today, they are permitted to begin conversations, but you can't sign anybody until tomorrow. Right, so June 2nd, June 3rd is when you can start the negotiations and signings. I imagine we'll probably get the protection list at the end of this phase. So by the end of Wednesday, we will have that concrete information, which means we can then record our thoughts on that on Thursday. Yeah. You will have to bear with us during the next fortnight when we can do episodes, because obviously when we get to Phase 3, we'll have to also do another protection lists episode. You can find all the lists for Phase 1 on my Instagram. The handle is @GeorgeDHand. So you can go to that. But we will be all over the place when it comes to recording our thoughts in each space. The plan is for each space, when we recap each space, to publish it immediately after we've recorded it. So a few hours after we record it. So the chances are on some days you might get 2 episodes in your feed instead of just 1. It all depends. But anyways, yeah. So I don't think we'll get the full protection list until the end of this first phase. We see who has and who's not been signed yet to a contract. Black confused about consistency of... Oh, okay, so if a player gets protected on the protected list, is already under contract, that's fine. But if you are protected player who's not signed a contract, that automatically counts. So the moment you sign up player, that automatically counts for your protection list. So probably wise at this stage not to go fishing for other players in other teams. So get that big fish. Yeah, don't do that till the later phases, because right now you need to focus on the players that you've already got. Yeah. So that's how I see it. Okay. Yeah. So if you sign a player from any team, it automatically counts as one of your 3 protection slots. Okay? Yeah, okay, good. Okay? Yeah, good, right. So 12 p.m. Yeah, so 12 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, so that's 5 p.m. tomorrow our time, is when this phase will properly kick in. Yeah, so there you go about that. Yeah. Yeah. So shall I know what phase 2? Okay, so phase 2, which will start on Friday and will run until June 8th. It's June 5th, June 8th is Phase 2. Expansion Team Foundational Sign Period. Now, lady, you basically yesterday described this as basically the exclusive sign window. Yeah, I kind of look at this phase and kind of think it's kind of like the exclusive sign window was last year, but obviously it's a lot more aggressive because each expansion team has that secret weapon up their hand in their disposal, in the arsenal. Yeah, which I'll go through now. So in Phase 2, expansion teams will each acquire 5 players through signing and, if necessary, a player selection process. Expansion teams must submit a 20-player exclusive negotiation target list, identifying players they intend to pursue. Eligible players include all unprotected players from 2025-26 rosters. Expansion teams cannot sign any player in Phase 2 that is not on their target list. Okay? That's key thing to remember that. So if you are not on a team's target list, then you are kind of safe. Because the team can only go for players that are on that target list. Which kind of, I think, narrows their options a little bit. Because obviously last year, Vancouver Seattle basically had a free-for-all and could basically go and talk to and sign everybody they liked. So it kind of narrows the field a bit for the expansion teams, but it gets interesting as we go on. Yeah, so expansion teams cannot sign any player in Phase 2 that is not on their target list. Each expansion team will receive one binding expansion foundational offer, the EFO, allowing them to pursue a cornerstone player through a premium multi-year contract opportunity. Players who receive an EFO may choose a contract length ranging from 1 to 4 years. Expansion teams may also issue non-binding foundational player offers, that's the FPO, to eligible players on expiring contracts. Existing teams can lose a maximum of 3 players who are under contract for the 2026-27 season in Phase 2. If the expansion team does not sign 5 players by the end of this phase, a selection process will be used to complete its 5-player roster using eligible players under contract for 2026-27. Now, just remind you, the key thing here with those offers. So, with the EFO, each expansion team gets one of those to use, and if a player receives that, they must sign. It's basically, I don't want to quote Godfather. Should I do it? You can do it. I don't want to quote Godfather, but basically, boy, it's basically the make an offer you can't refuse. That's so corny. Yeah, so if a player gets that, they must sign it with that team that offers it them. But if they get multiple offers, then they get to choose which expansion team they go to. Yeah. So basically, if a player gets offered EFO, they have to sign that on the dotted line immediately. With the FPO, a player doesn't have to sign that initially. They can look at that offer and go, yeah. They can look at it and leave it on the table to mull over. Yeah. But they do eventually have to then make a decision on that. So with an FPO, players have got more power because they can look at that and go, yeah, okay, but still want to shop around a bit. But with an EFO, you have to accept it. And that's a really big weapon for the expansion team to have. Because if there's a particular player that they feel is going to really, boost their team, going to be a really key figure for their team, they can make that offer and then guarantee themselves a really top-notch quality star player who could be the face of their franchise. But maybe. And there's a lot of interesting players up for grabs who could be given those offers, and then boom, they're gone immediately out the door straight away to that new team. Yeah. I think it'll be very interesting to see not just who gets on these target lists, but also who does get those EFOs. I mean, it's a very interesting tool to have. And of course, as I mentioned, it does allow the expansion teams to have at least one key star player. But it's a tough thing to offer. Yeah. And we're trying to make it all about giving players more say. And then here we go. The expansion teams have got this one weapon that actually limits that. Yeah. I'm not sure if I'd feel if I was given that offer. Because what if you go? Because what if it's to an expansion team that you don't really want to go on? You've got no choice. You have to basically sign it. Yeah. So that's phase 2. So phase 2 will begin on June the 5th. So that's this Friday, and will run until next Monday. So that means next Tuesday we can record our thoughts on that. Yeah. Right, we'll go on to phase 3. So phase 3 is preliminary open sign period, and that runs from June 10 to June 12. So that's next Wednesday? Yeah, next Wednesday. Right, so in this phase, unsigned and unprotected players on expiring contracts become eligible to negotiate with all 12 teams. Expansion teams may sign up to 3 additional players, so that's a maximum of 8 by the end of this phase. Okay. And existing teams will add 3 additional protections, bringing their total protection set. Sorry, their protection list. Sorry, to 6 players. Yeah. So, in phase 3, the current 8 markets get a second round at making protection lists, and we also going to tend to do the same as well. Yeah. Hopefully, it'll be a little bit less more argumentative than it was this time around. Because, oh my god. You were adamant you were putting the foot down. And rightly so. I felt very strongly about some of the picks I made. I think we all did. I mean, I'm not surprised that episode was 2.5 hours. It's the second longest episode we've done in Purple Rain history, but it was largely because for most of that episode, us 3 were fighting to make the case heard. When we did the protection list last year, there wasn't that many fisticuffs apart from Lady trying to stop me and Pluto from saying Amned should go on the block. Yeah. I think that was the only fight we had last year. Whereas this year we had a bit more. There was a lot more fisticuffs because I felt us 3. We all kind of felt very strongly about the armors we were making, but we got there in the end. Ottawa and Montreal were the only 2 obvious ones. The rest it was all fight. Yeah, so there'll be a second protection list episode coming your way. Yeah. That might be a bit more rushed given how that'll be happening as the phases are happening live. Yeah, we'll work out. Yeah. So existing teams can add 3 additional players to their protection list. That will take that to 6 players, and these protections may consist of players already signed to the team's 2026-27 roster, and all players on expiring contract signed during the phase. Players who received an FPO and remain unsigned following phase 2 must sign during phase 3. Is that with any team? Yes. So if a player gets offered an FPO by expansion team in phase 2, they don't have to immediately sign that. What they can do is basically hold out and see what happens in phase 3. And they can decide either to go with one of the current 8 teams or basically take that offer they've been given by expansion team. I kind of feel like this gives players more leverage. Do you too, Corbin? Yeah, because basically, if you give that, you can basically go, I'm thinking about it, I'm considering it, but I'm probably not going to want to go with that team. I might want to go with one of the current 8, because I might get a better deal there than I would being on expansion roster, where I wouldn't know the market, wouldn't know these players well. Yeah. So, and we're talking about trying to get those lines clicking. Which causes Vancouver Seattle's downfall. Yep. So, Yeah, I do think it gives players more leverage there. It's interesting to see though with those players who do get those. It's interesting to see, do they take it with the expansion it's given them, or do they go elsewhere? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now moving on to phase 4. So phase 4 will be right before we get to the draft. So phase 4 is June 14th and June the 15th, and that is expansion sign period. And this is where expansion teams continue building their rosters to reach those 10 players. All players who were not signed or protected in phases 1 through 3 are eligible to sign with expansion teams, including players with an expiring contract and players under contract for 2026-27. If expansion teams have not signed 10 players by the end of this phase, an additional player selection process will be used to complete their rosters using eligible players under contract for 2026-27. And this phase is just for expansion teams, and by that point they'll be close to the match number 10. So it's basically just those last few sides they can make. Yeah, I don't see there'll be a problem because it hasn't really said what the additional roster. No, it hasn't. No, I don't think. Remember how last year when it was talking about how where bankers don't get to set number going into the expansion stuff, they'll get additional picks. That didn't happen. No, that didn't happen. No. Well, I think it was if they didn't hit their 5 players this year summon, they would be given more picks. Yeah. So for example, if say Vancouver got to their 5, but Seattle only got to 3, then Seattle would have gotten 2 additional picks in the expansion draft. Yeah. But they got to 5 pretty quickly, but they didn't even need the whole exclusive summon though. I mean, we were talking about it in this season. We're kind of thinking, well, if you're going to do it like last year, you don't need to make the exclusive summoner that long. Yeah. Because the exclusive summoner opened on the Wednesday, and then it was going to close on the I think it was a Sunday. You didn't need that long, because by Friday, all 5 signs for both teams were made. Yeah, so you didn't need that. Yeah, I agree. I don't see how expansion teams won't hit that magic number. I don't see how they won't hit. Yeah. So then phase 5, which will happen during the draft, that is existing team exclusive re-sign period. That's June 16 and June 18. So existing teams may negotiate with and sign their own remaining players on expiring contracts who were not signed during phases 1 through 4. Players may choose to sign with their existing team or wait until the opening signing period. Existing teams must make a qualifying offer to players selected in the 2025 PWHL draft whose rights are held for the 26-27 season in order to retain those rights. So obviously, when you draft a player to PWHL, you are eligible to keep their rights for 2 years, and even if they go and sign somewhere else in a trade. This is just so like how phase 4 was just the expansion teams, phase 5 is just with the current 8 teams, and this is where you can only sign with your current team. Well, basically, you've got 2 options: you either sign with your current team, or you wait until free agency begins the next, which will be 2 days after the draft. That's what it is. That's what it is. Then, of course, we're going to have the 2026 PHL entry draft on June 17, which we know is going to be in Detroit. So all 12 teams will participate in the 6th round draft. The Vancouver Golden secured the first overall pick through the league's goal plan system, with the remaining draft order to be announced ahead of the draft. I imagine we'll probably get out maybe some point next week, by the end of next week, I imagine. Because by the end of next week, we will have a good idea of where each expansion team is in terms of the quality of their roster, and that might help the league determine what they want to do. What do you two want to do in terms of draft order? Because I kind of felt it needs to be the goal plan teams first. So Vancouver, Seattle, York, Tio. But then what do you do after that? Because you can either then do player teams get picked by 6, 7, 8, or expansion teams get picked by 6, 7, 8. I would say let the expansion teams have picks by 6, 7, 8. Really? Yeah. And give them a better chance to draft well, and then have the power teams go last. You do realise that would mean, because we were the higher playoff team, that means we would pick 10th in the draft. And I know how you did not like last year's selection. You do know that me, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because I loved last year's draft order. These two didn't. I personally would like to keep last year's draft order, but of course, obviously, we've got expansion this year, so we can't really do that. But going forward, that's how I would like the draft order. I'll do that on that. Yeah, I'll do that on another time. It's tricky. And thank God it's still 6 rounds. Yeah. Yeah. I can't believe Ian Kelly was saying, oh, he wants a 5-round draft. It's like, no. No. Do your maths, Ian. 5 times 12 is 60. No. 6. I had no problem with 6. I was quite shocked last year we went down from a 7-round draft to a 6-round draft, but it all worked out fine. I think 6 is fine. I think for a league like the PHL, either do a 6-round or a 7-round draft. Anything less than that is completely ridiculous, especially the amount of talent that we have coming in this league. Remember, we got 235 players declared. Yeah, 235 players have declared for this extra draft. So we've got enough time to definitely get a 16-team league in the future. Obviously, not right now. No. But, so, everybody worried about Tampa? You worry for nothing. No, so I'm very happy it's going to be 6 rounds once again. I think anything less than 6 is a joke. Right? Anything less than 6, to me, just sounds like a complete and utter joke. Okay? Alright, we want as many players in this league as possible. Okay? So, I think 6 is a good number. And then finally, Phase 6, which I don't really see as a phase, but we'll talk anyway. Phase 6 open sign period begins June 19. So all main eligible players on expired contracts may sign any of the 12 teams in the league under. In the league, undrafted players will also be eligible to sign league-wide. Basically, free agency begins on June 19, and then if I remember right from last year, it runs for a few weeks, then it pauses, then we have a break, then it comes back again, and then so we'll get all that in the time. So there you go. There you go. That is how the expansion process is going to work. Like I said, we're going to be with you guys every step of the way. So your first recap episode should be happening either Thursday or Friday this week. It all depends on when we get the information. Because chances are, it'll probably be like last year, where every day you literally stay at the phone waiting for somebody to then say, "Oh, this move has happened," and all that. And hear that. Yeah. So we, over the next 2 weeks, will be dropping in your feeds recaps about each phase. We will also, at the end of the process, we will also do an episode to recap each expansion team's 10 players. We'll do that. And we're also gonna do an episode. We're gonna give you our thoughts on the expansion process as a whole, which we tried to do last year. We tried to do that last year, but of course, there was a little bit of a lot of fanfare, wasn't there? So it didn't end up really being, oh, it's going to be our thoughts on the person. It was more basically trying to tell everyone to calm the fuck down. Alright, Taylor. Yeah, it was complete. Yeah. Hope it'll be fine. Yeah, hope it'll be fine. Yeah. How are you two now feeling? Because obviously, from tomorrow, it just feels like unless we get any news today, today's going to try for, like, you know, last day of release before it all then kicks into high gear. And I feel like this time it's going to be even more stressful because there's a lot of more top-notch quality talent that could be put on. Yeah, it kind of feels like this time around the chances of teams, not going to name one in particular, but it does feel like this time around the chances of teams losing a really big star player are a lot higher than they were last year. Obviously, last year, of course, Boston lost Harry Knight. Well, they didn't really lose. They gave us a platter. And, of course, Toronto lost Sarah Nurse. But you didn't see that many big star players go. Whereas this time round, it could be. And it could be, it could be largely just about that the teams can't afford to protect that particular player. So yes, I do get what Pluto means. It's going to be a lot more stressful this time than it was last year. Ready? How are you feeling? Oh, just try to get yourself up ready for what's going to be a very stressful fortnight. Yeah. Because even on the weekends, it's not going to feel safe. Who thought no? Yeah. So. Yeah, but ready to go. Yeah. Yeah. I'm literally. I'm just ready to go. Let's do it. Yeah. Let's just get this over and done with. Okay. So reminder, phase 1 begins this week, June 2nd to June the 3rd, and then phase 2 will start June the 5th to June the 8th. And then let's look at the rest. Let's go for it. Phase 3 is June 10 to June 12. Phase 4 is June 14 to June 15. Then we've got phase 6 happening. Not phase 6. Phase 5, sorry. Yeah, we've got phase 5 and phase 6 happening all in the week of the draft. Yeah, so phase 5 is June 16 and then June 18. Yeah. And then we've got, obviously got the draft between that. And then phase 6 is June 19. Okay? And like I said, we'll be with you every step of the way. Ideally, we would like to try and get episodes done either a day or two after. Although phases 4 to 5 will be a bit tricky because we go back to we look at phase 4. Yeah, with phase 4, sorry, with the recap of phase 3, that probably isn't going to happen until the last day of phase 4 because phase 3 will end on June the 12th. But I would not be able to then record the recap game of phase 3 until the following Monday. So if phase 3's recap will probably be recorded and published as we end phase 4, and probably phase 4 then has to be done the next day. But we're going to try, ideally, between the end of each phase, we'll try and get the recap done immediately and then get published straight away. Just for phase 3 and 4 will be a little bit different because obviously there's a bit bigger leeway between those two phases, but it will be fine. It will be fine. So it's going to be a very busy next fortnight. Okay? All I'd say to you guys is take care of your mental welfare. Okay? Because these next 2 weeks are going to be so stressful. If you are, like us, if you are a fan of Unequal 16, you will remember a bit from last year, okay? Seattle, Vancouver, obviously, if it's your first time, good luck. You're going to need it. I feel like Seattle, Vancouver is going to be more tricky to tell who's going to lose from their team because they've actually owed to join, but we'll see how that goes. But my advice to my fair fans, so the fans of Boston, Minnesota, Montreal, New York, or Seattle, Toronto, Vancouver. My advice to you guys is breathe and look after your mental welfare because these next 2 weeks are going to be absolutely stressful because you've got no idea which of your players are going to be safe, which of your players are going to be targeted, and obviously which of your players could go. And chances are we all might lose at least one star player. So my advice to you guys is please do whatever you need to do to look after your mental welfare, because these next 2 weeks are going to be really, really stressful. Okay? So just please, guys, take my advice. Look after yourselves. Okay? Look after yourselves. And of course, like I said, we will be here with you every step of the way. So make sure you are subscribed to Purple Rain wherever you get your podcasts, so that you will not miss a single moment when we get information about the Spanish Post as a whole. Okay? Okay. So, that is going to be all. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, until next time, take care, guys. And I really mean it. Take care of yourselves in the next 2 weeks. And don't forget to support them.